Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about the M-1961 Canteen, which I have two of, as you can see here. So we're going to kind of tie this into the Vietnam video that I made recently. And I also have my dog in my room because it's storming outside. It may not really look like it right now, but it was earlier and it might storm again. So he wanted to come to my room. Yeah, isn't that right? Yeah, his name's Bear, but he is obviously not the star of this video. I just have him in here because he wanted to come in here. So hopefully he doesn't go barking at something. I'm not going to say the word. If I do, squirrel, he might go and look outside and try to bark out the window. But yeah, we're going to be talking about these two today. But before we get started, there was one thing I wanted to mention about these, because I will mention this again later on in the video. This is actually a military issue with the olive drab polyethylene plastic, essentially. Which you're probably wondering, didn't you say this one and the black one was also military issue? Surprisingly, I figured out. I don't know how true this is, but from what I've heard, the tan one and the black one, and even there's a pink one, surprisingly, maybe even a purple one, they're not military issue. This one is the only color for the military, apparently, which I could see that. But apparently, like, any other color, like this one, the black one, stuff like that, would be like the civilian market, like for hiking, camping, stuff like that. Where something like this would apparently be just military issue, which I'm guessing the easiest way to tell that it's military issue, I don't know how true this is maybe because of the fact that there's this like cage code on the bottom, which I figured out that actually just relates to the manufacturer. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't remember all the information off of it, but I think it was yesterday, something like that. I asked people on Facebook in this canteens group I'm in, and they went and kind of told me some information on it, because obviously I'm not the biggest into the modern canteens yet, so I'm trying to get there, because this canteen was issued back in like the early 60s to American soldiers, like literally around the time of Vietnam, and you're telling me this is possibly still in active service today? I mean, seriously, it replaced this metal canteen here, the 1910, this one being made in 1962 by Miro. So, I mean, you know, it's crazy to think this canteen is at least 60 years old. Not this one specifically. This one's made in 2002, but the idea of it is over 60 years old, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll start with the canteen, move to the canteen covers and the cups, stuff like that. But yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. But before we actually start talking about all this, I wanted to say one thing. I don't know if any of you have saw my post I made in my community tab. I made a Discord. Link will be in the comment section. But I made a Discord server, and so far I think we have 10 members. I can't really remember exactly. I think that's 10 including me. I really have to look back, but I'm pretty sure it is 10. So yeah, if y'all want to join it, link will be in the comment section in a pinned comment of mine. That'll probably be like a few minutes or so after I upload this and it's out there. Because I don't know if you can put a pinned comment and all that stuff, like literally during the upload. And I don't want to do it in the description, because I'll probably have hashtags there. I'm not sure, but I just do hashtags still. But yeah, enough of that. Yeah, we're going to start with, let's see. We'll start with talking about this. How about that? The canteen. I'm not really going to talk about this one much since, like I said, civilian market. So I'm going to throw that over there. So we're going to really center on this one. And we're going to start off, I actually think, with the 1910 and like the, 1961, like kind of the early 60s of whenever we switched from the 1910 to the 1961. So, let's see. So at this time, if I remember correctly, It was September 1962 is whenever they started basically saying, hey, we like this, we want this canteen. And, you know, September 1962 obviously is whenever it was designated the 1961, which means, you know, it was basically put into military service and all that by that time, essentially is what it just means, because that's when it was designated the 1961. Which would have replaced this, which would have been these 1910 style canteens would have been in service, if you count the spun canteen, since the year 1910. Obviously, since why they're called the 1910. But, I mean, really, they were like, I think they were originally for Coast Guard and stuff like that, until World War I, when they started making the seamed ones, stuff like that. Which technically they made seamed ones before World War I, but I believe the ones they used in World War I, the 1918 dated ones, I don't know when they made them specifically. I'd really need to look that up. That would be kind of cool to see. But, yeah, I'm not talking about World War I. Get my mind off that. But, yeah, in the early 60s, they would start using these plastic canteens made of olive drab polyethylene. They would make them in other colors, but not for military service. So this is just your standard issue, 1961. Which this one, like I said, is US 2002, made by HTP, which if I flip the page to here, I have them down. Their company is called HTP, which is Hayes Tooling and Plastics Inc., which, did you know, is short for incorporate or whatever you call it. I don't know what the word is for that. Sorry about that. But they are based out of Olathe, Kansas, apparently. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I have like a whole thing here. Probably can't really see it on this. Like I say, I have all my notes here. You can see there. It might not pick up very well on camera. Oh, I didn't want to do that, but let me flip back to the page I was on. Sorry, I probably should not have done that. But yeah, that's one of the companies out of like all these companies, like Zarn Co., which on their canteens it says Zarn. I remember those. Skillcraft with one L for skill. R&D, cannot figure out what R&D means. There's Abcom. Never seen their canteens personally, but apparently they made them in 1964, which could have been the first year they were made. I want to say 1963 was really the first year, but I don't know. The earliest year I've seen is 1964, but I'm sure they could have potentially made them in 1963 and they're just not around anymore, or they're just super rare from that year. Who knows? Maybe they weren't dated in that year, but I sincerely doubt that they weren't dated in that time. But there's also MW Inc. Not sure what that one is. Some of these I've never heard of. Like Sonotronics, I think they made them back in the 90s. They basically would make these back in the 90s for the military. But yeah, they're one of them that I have heard of, but I don't own one of theirs because obviously I'm trying to get into the modern-ish era of canteens. When I say modern, I mean like Vietnam with like the 1961 and the early 60s. All the way to like modern day, which there's a bunch of different canteens out there. I mean, seriously, if you think this is the only plastic canteen in U.S. military service, you would be so wrong. Because there are so many different ones. I mean, they still used metal canteens between the 60s and like basically present day at times. So, you know, it's definitely pretty interesting when you actually kind of dive into it. But yeah, soldiers in Vietnam, the U.S. soldiers, they loved these canteens. I believe it was in 1965. I can't really recall. I wish I actually wrote that down or looked more into it. But the soldiers, you know, they had their little reviews about it, essentially, and they really liked it. I mean, it's not the best military canteen in terms of, you know, all that, but I mean, seriously, it's better than the metal, 1910s and all that stuff. I mean, seriously, these are just, in my opinion, if you would had to choose between carrying this in combat or carrying this in combat, I would take this in a heartbeat. This one I've actually specifically drank out of before too. I think like right after I bought it, I cleaned it out with dish soap or something like that and let it soak. Probably wasn't the greatest idea with dish soap, but I mean, hey, it works. So, I mean, the water in it's not exactly the greatest, but I mean, it's not supposed to be cold water. But seriously, I'll tell you, this is not so bad, especially if you consider that the canteen covers, that there was 2 different types of them since the start of the 1961, which this one, realistically, I just include this one because this one here, made of nylon, wasn't exactly made originally whenever that was, made, so I include this one. So yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. I'm going to get into the canteen cups now. So usually when you think of the 1961, the usual one that you pair with it is this butterfly handle M-1964. This one is marked US RJS. It might be a little hard to see just because, the angle that I put it at. But I can put it at this one too. Maybe it'll help. Probably not. But, butterfly handle. You hold it like that. Essentially. Basically, it's like this. They connect. As you can see there. It's almost like a DNA strand type of pattern when you look at it. But in reality, when you look at it from the bottom, it's like that. So it's pretty cool. I like these canteens, the 1974s. They did, I believe, have those dated. I think that one's made of aluminum or something. This one, I want to say it's made of aluminum as well, but I'm not sure. It's really hard to tell what the difference between aluminum and like a stainless steel is. Honestly, to me, I think stainless steel would be like super shiny, having a bunch of like lines in it or something, but I don't know. I'm not very good at identifying the material it's made of, but this is, one from the Vietnam War. This is a 1942 style canteen, which, I have a few of those. I have one from Korea, one from World War II, and this one from the Vietnam era. This one on the handle says Rogers, Akron, Ohio, 1965, which might not focus, but that is what it says. So you compare this is how it holds. This is the 1942 style, pretty similar to the 1910 style, besides the fact that the lip is, what do you call it? It's not rolled. Well, you know what I mean. It's not a rolled lip like the 1910, which they made during both World Wars. And you can see these are actually pretty similar. If you actually compare them and look at them side by side, their lip is actually pretty similar. I mean, what do you think? This is the butterfly handle one right here. And this one here is this one, the 1942 style. So, there's your little comparison. Here's how they hold. Personally, I really think this one's the better one. Although I'm not sure how you would hold this away from a fire if you wanted to put coffee in it. But then again, eventually we kind of got it more into the, MRE stuff. So, I mean, a lot of that stuff, like canteen cups, I don't think was needed as much eventually. But I don't think we really got into MREs until, the early 2000s. Kind of when the US military was in Afghanistan and all that stuff. So I'm not really going to talk about that. Like I said, this is just about the 1961. I am going way off track, but yeah. These 2 pieces here would essentially, I would put them in a set, and they would go on to replace this, the 1910 canteen and the 1942 cup. And this is your 1961 cup and your 1974 cup. I believe that's at least the military designation of this. I believe it's a 1974 cup in terms of military designation. When I say 1974, I mean M-1974. And this is 1961, so M-1961. This is your M-1910, so M-1910, you know, so on and so forth. You know, M just meaning model, stuff like that. So, you know, that's one thing there. So, one thing I want to talk about, let me actually keep that out because I don't really like that much. Let me actually set it there just so it's not in the way. So, this is your 1956 style cover, which would replace the, I move that, which would replace this style cover with the hooks on the back and all that. The military designation meaning 1956. This one I believe is September 1958 or 59. Kind of hard to read it, but pretty sure that's when that's from, as it says on the bottom. But it's got the little Alice clips on the back. So you think they basically used these before they even made this canteen. So this cover's literally older than the idea of this canteen. Not the idea of a plastic canteen, but the idea of this specific plastic canteen in terms of US military idea, not world, but, you know. And then eventually they would pair it with this one, which I actually want to, I would really like to do that, but honestly it's probably not worth it. They would eventually pair it with this nylon one, which this one is canvas. It's pretty much similar to the old style ones, except it's got the Alice clips on the back, which I dislike these canvas covers. I swear to you, the biggest problem I have with them, my biggest gripe, is getting a canteen cup out of one of these. Like, I don't know what it is. These nylon ones are super nice. Like, I love the old style of stuff sometimes, but sometimes it's just like, geez, man, it's outdated sometimes. Like, something like this is just so much better. Because literally, you still hold, like, the button, whatever you call it. And, you know, on the bottom, this does have a little drain hole if you wanted to use this, like a funnel, which I think is super neat. And here, on this specific cover, the nylon one, which I don't know the military designation of this one. I want to say it's LC2. Not sure if that's military designation of it or not, but in the research I did on it as well, it's LC2. There's also an LC1 before that, but from what I've heard, there's little to no difference, and it's not even worth trying to figure out which one's which. But I'm pretty sure the easiest way to tell thing is right here on the printing. You might not be able to see it. It says LC2, which is LC-2, basically. Yeah, my hand was kind of cut off right there. Sorry. But canteens are kind of similar in the inside, except actually not really, because this one has a felt inside like the old ones. I think this one, I don't know what's inside this one. I don't know what this is, honestly. It's not felt, that's for sure. I don't know what it is. Almost makes me think of a carpet, honestly. It really does. Because, like, this is pretty rough in the inside. And then this is just, like, a kind of nice little carpet, you know. So, I don't know. I like it a lot. But, yeah, like I said, this is still an active service today as far as I know of. And let me get back into what I was saying about these being in civilian service. So these being in civilian service, more for like camping, hiking, stuff like that. Not sure really how in the world you'd even manage to buy one of these from one of these companies. I'm really not sure, because it confuses me. If this is a, you know, civilian service one, then why in the world does it still have US 1980? I can get why it has that, but, like, is it just because it's, like, that's kind of how they make them. It's just they make them in different colors for civilian service, whereas like for example, these colors, I guess, are military service, just basically look the same as this one besides color, I guess, but this one's just the military one. That's my guess. I'm not 100% sure on this. Some stuff is a little vague. Some stuff was kind of left unquestioned and all that stuff. But I say that's really a big point I'd like to address in the future, but maybe at most, address it here. Who knows? But there are a few things I'd still like to talk about with this. Sorry that it's been a bit of a long one. The early contracts for these in the 60s and for these 1961 style canteens cost just as low as 18 cents, which today is around $2. I mean, it's like $1.95, I believe, but that's like basically almost right at $2. That's why I have it down as that. And I mean, these were injection molded polyethylene plastic, essentially, and they were made of 3 parts, which is the canteen body, this here, the cap, this here, and this separate strap, which is this, more than likely, which you're probably wondering, what do you mean this strap is separate? Because if you notice, I can unscrew this and just hold this strap in place. This strap is in place in this canteen like cap, essentially. And I think the cool thing about this is, you can see it does move around like that. But I mean, you can also move around like that. So it's more locked into the canteen. I think it's super neat the way they designed these ones. I just think it's really neat, personally. So, considering that if you wanted to, that's kind of how this functions. I'll show you how this functions. Albeit this might be a little loud. I don't know. Yeah, this one's a bit squeaky. But you can see, not the greatest looking shape. I definitely would not drink out of this, but I mean, it smells old in there. Jeez. I'm really not fond of having to do that with these. But yeah, personally, I say these were pretty successful considering how long they've been around. And I mean, like I said earlier, there has been many other types of canteens. So, obviously, they probably don't only use this. There's like a bunch of different types. I believe they also use this like backpack sort of like hydration pack, which I guess you have a straw you drink out of, that, or like a tube you can drink out of from the pack. I'm not too sure how those work, but I believe they're called camel packs or something like that. Not too sure on that. Like I say, one day I will go back and talk about the 1961 just a little bit in a fairly long video. That will be a fairly long video, longer than this one, just on that canteen and just all those different canteens, unless I turn it into a series of videos, or I just, talk about them all in one and do specific videos on each one to break it down. But yeah, who knows? I think that's really it, honestly, with these, canteens I wanted to talk about in this video. As far as I can tell, there's not really anything else. But yeah, 1970s, in the early 1970s, I think it was around 1973, these would have actually replaced the 1910 style canteens and all these metal ones. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty much it. Now I'm looking at my notes. But like I said, I'll have a Discord link in the comment section. Gonna promote this video a bit more than probably my future videos. I think my future videos, I'll still have it in my comment section, but I'm not gonna go every video and talk about it unless I really should, but we'll see. It all depends on how it does after this video. If I don't really get anyone more in it. Maybe I will, but we'll see. Yeah. See you all in the next video. I'm gonna shut this real quick. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Sorry if this has been a bit of a long video. It's already pushing 25 minutes. Just had a bit to talk about with this canteen. Considering just how cool of a canteen I think it is. A lot of information I kind of just said 20 times, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. When you're really interested in something, you will say the same amount of information sometimes, spew information a couple different times, stuff like that. But yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Like I said, if you're interested, join my Discord. Also, we hit 47,000 total views on this channel, so thank you all for that. We're at 124 subscribers as well. So if you guys are interested in this style of content, hopefully soon I will be finishing that Battle of Kursk that I have over there. I would turn my camera around, but I have all this stuff here in the way. So yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Not sure when it'll be or what it will be about, but yeah, I will be seeing y'all in the next video. Maybe it'll be like a little Battle of Kursk thing, or maybe something. I'm not sure yet. Don't really have it all planned out yet, but yeah. It'll probably be Monday, because I don't know if I'm going to do one tomorrow, and if I do, it's going to be a short. So yeah, we'll see you all in the next one.